G'day YouTube, welcome back to my channel Bonsai Works. I'm David. This year I'm finding I don't have as many trees to work on and do videos for you guys, but I've done enough. I've done quite a few over the years. You can always watch again and so on. But today I just want to go through some of my maples and show you how they're going along in spring. This little guy is not too bad. It's a decent, really decent fat trunk. This tree in a way started when probably at least 15 to 20 years ago, it was just a bit of a stump, I'd say, and it's a really nice big fat base on that's been developed, and it just slowly developed it over time, growing all the branches out. It is a little triangular in nature. It's just how I styled it at the point in time when I had it, but it's starting to come along nicely. I'm trying to eliminate the triangle look, but it's a little bit difficult because a lot of the branches are set. But I'm trying to get branches to go upwards more, and it needs certain areas need to fill out a little bit more. One thing with this tree is has a very nice small leaf. It's starting to get shoot out, but a lot of these little leaves in here are really nice and small and compact. It's really, really cool little tree, and I love maples for this reason. I mean, look, it just looks great. You can see I'm fertilising it at the moment. It's important to fertilise now for the maples. I like to not fertilise straight away in spring, but a little bit later as they've set their first leaves. I fertilise now, and they should really start to shoot again really heavily. So that's one of the maples I want to show you, and I'll bring you a few more. So this Trident you would have seen early in spring when I repotted it. It's quite a nice, really nice tree, starting to turn out to be actually. I just noticed this really long shoot there which I need to trim off, and this is the time to actually come in and go, okay, just trim back to the first set of leaves. You're very easy. Yeah, this is another nice. I did a repot of this tree early in the year, and it's coming along really well. It's starting to fill out really nicely. I keep trimming it to keep it compact and keep it growing. Another thing that was a stump. You regrow a lot of the branches. Now it's a bit of a maintenance on this tree. You're doing a bit of maintenance here and there, feeding it as per normal, but I do keep it trimmed. I mean, you can see the nice, I don't know if you can see on the camera, but there's nice new shoots coming along where after I've trimmed it. Keep it trimmed, keep it in compact shape, getting the branches to go in a fan shape rather than, you can see there's no flat first branch, big, second, there's none of that. It's more rounded and more natural volume, fan shape branches. I know unfortunately I've got some really big ones there down here, but they're not going down, they're actually going up and then trying to come down. So you can see that upward nature, then flattening out into these branches out here. So this is a really nice tree. Actually, it's kind of becoming one of the more favourites. But yeah, there's another little maple. Yeah, this tree's coming along in leaps and bounds. It's one of my, I'm blown away how well this tree's starting to develop. This is the tree that I'm trying to regrow these branches. You can see they're quite long, but this is trying to change the shape of this tree to be very natural looking, big, wide base, wide canopy. You can see it really starting to come together. Now you'll notice these shoots, it's got some bit more shoots that have been growing along, and I'm using them to build this area right up. Trying to give it a spin. You can probably see this secondary branch here. I'm trying to get a nice big section over there happening. You can see that probably at that angle. But it's a big tree now, starting to get a big tree. Really, really beautiful. Really great Trident. Oh, it's really heavy actually. I'm going to spin it. Again, all I'm doing at the moment is keeping it trimmed. I'm trying to not do too much on this side, trim it where it needs, but trying to keep this all contained and trimmed off. All the nice new shoots are starting to happen again after I trimmed already in the season. Things are starting to go out. They're all trying to grow upwards. I think hopefully you can see that motion of these these branches. But yeah, I think it's probably a year or two away from being in a show almost. So probably won't make the 2022 show, but hopefully the 2023 exhibition. That's the plans to have this in there, and looking quite spectacular. A lot of its growth will be really nice and compact, won't be so messy, and I'll really have some, these branches are the ones that I'm really critical on and want to get that fullness in the canopy. So another beautiful, one of my favourite Tridents. Okay, and I've got another Trident. The Tridents keep coming, and this one is This one's a bit kind of a sentimental tree because it used to belong to Lola and Peter Anderson from our bonsai club. And they're a wonderful old couple who pretty much started the club. And they gave me this tree as part of my daughter's birth, which was probably 15 years ago. So, and I've still got it, and it's in dedication to her. So I've still got a Lola and Peter. It is coming along still quite nice and good. The only thing is it's actually hollowed out. It's got a big hollow in the back. Can you see that, guys? Yeah, so you can see the big hollows there. Too bad that was on the front, unfortunately, there's not much I can do. And it comes out through here, so the water actually goes through and out through there, so that's been an interesting development over the years. I have a bit of wire on this tree just to try and shape the branches to where they're going to go. It's not too bad. I'm trying to get it, last year didn't really do that very well. This year I wanted to try and feed it a lot more and get it growing a lot more and more fuller in growth. While the branching is now starting to happen upwards, trying to get rid of that downward shape, the downward branches, so things are starting to come together with this one as well. Alright, so if you've been following my channel for a while, you know this tree quite exclusively, I guess. It's my Trident on the rock. It's a very old tree, Trident gripped to the side of a rock. It's actually quite a famous tree. It appears in a book in Australia that Australian author put together. There's a photo of it when it was very young, and I'll try and post that right now on this video. Hopefully it comes up. Alright, so you can see what it looked like then. Hoping, obviously it's developed a lot more. Fuller canopy, really good strong canopy. I'll try and give it a little spin. It's too wide to get it all the way around, but it's quite a nice full tree. The only thing is I find it's a little bit weak in the terms of if all the growth seems to be on the outskirts now, on the outside of the tree, on the tips, rather than in here. There's not much going on internally on the tree. So what I'm doing is feeding quite heavily. These are my little tea bags of dynamic lifter. And I'll liquid feed occasionally as well. Just liquid feed anything that's on special, really. That's the honest truth. Nothing too fancy. And just trying to liquid feed it and trim it. So keep it trimmed. If I see growth, trim it all back. I'm trying to get it pushing it back this year. Trying to get it more fuller. So very, very famous tree, and one I love and I appreciate having in my collection. The Tridents keep coming, and this is getting bigger. This is another Trident. It started in my collection probably early 2000s, and I built the tree over time. It is a little bit cookie cutter in terms of how the branches are developed. It's quite a tall tree. When I first got it, the leaves were about that big. Seriously, they're huge. And over time, I've gradually got it smaller and smaller. This is another tree that I'm finding is a bit suffering from, I don't know what it is, but the growth seems to be on the outside. I'm trying to push it in. Maybe I didn't feed it enough last year, not sure. But again, feeding heavily this year. I've already given it a hard trim, so you can probably see some trimmed off ends here and there, but good to show you a tree that is still being worked on and in development. But I really need to get it healthy, strong, push lots of new growth, and the way I'm doing that is feeding it, and trimming it as I see. So I didn't repot this tree. I'm not repotting my maples as much anymore, and I didn't repot this one this year, so I'm hoping that missing a repot actually gives the roots and tree more strength to really push growth and get better. So really big tree. So I've had it probably over 20 years, this one. So that's one thing with me is I'm pretty much like you guys. You acquire trees over many years ago, acquire them over time, and slowly build them up. I mean, I wish I had a nursery. I wish I had lots of trees to choose from, lots and lots of trees, and loads of money would be great, but I don't. So I just acquire trees over the years, many years ago, quite here and there, once in a while, just like most of you, and hopefully build them up and make them better trees in the future. So that's that one. Now, I all know you've been waiting to see this big boy. It's the biggest Trident I've got. It's actually quite impressively sized, and you can see by it's starting to get away from the triangular shape, which is what I'm trying to do. What I've been trying to push with this tree is get it away from the cookie cutter triangular shape, become more of a maple shape. And you can see the almost rusticness of this tree, the they're changing angles and changing directions. Branches aren't like perfectly placed, they're all over the place, which is good. It's quite a monstrous tree. A little bit light on in the back, but I have been trying to get branches going into those directions and into those areas. Again, this tree I did not repot this year because I'm trying to get the strength into it, and it's doing really well. I mean, feeding out at the moment with my dynamic lifter bags, do some liquid feeding and getting the tree looking really good. And I know you guys love it. I know Brian, you're a big fan of it, and I know many other people. I've got a couple of comments that some bricklayers love this because it's so structured in a way, but it's getting away a little bit away from that really level. It's trying to break up that contrast. It is a tree that I need to continually trim, and you would have seen in my previous video how I go about just giving a quick trim here and there. It grows quite extensively and pushes a lot of growth a lot of the time, so I'm always on it. Yeah, but it's a real nice tree. It's huge base. I mean, my hand doesn't even cover. I've got big hands, but look at that. That's part of the root spread here. I haven't got them covered. So it's a really nice tree. I don't show it very often, but I might have to show it soon, especially if you get some nice colour in autumn. Might be in the show, if we have a show this year, which I'm hoping we do. I mean 2022 that is, and it'll be in the show. Alright. So not all my trees are massive. This is a nice little root over rock Trident maple. You can see the root over rock part. It's got good angles from everywhere you look at it almost. It's got a nice back. That could be the front as well. Lovely old rockets on. Sorry about the bags, but it is what it is at the moment. With feeding and so on. But nice little Trident root over rock. Nice and small. Here's another little root over rock as well. It's quite a nice rock, very tall. The trees are nicely growing on it. You see the base, the roots starting to become more fuller in a canopy, so I'm trying to get away from that totally triangular look on this tree. Again, just feeding and trimming along, trying to push back the growth, getting a more compact tree. So it is starting to work. I'm noticing a lot of the inner buds are starting to really come in, and nice and small leaves as well. So that's really positive. Yeah, so another little root over rock, quite nice. And here's my little tiny Trident maple. I'm trying to actually feed this quite heavily this year and trying to get some inner buds to shoot nice, as I don't want it to keep it quite a small tree, and I don't want it to escape me in size. So nice little, love the movement in the trunk on this little guy. It's quite nice. The pot is absolutely spectacular. It works really well. I repotted this year in it. But yeah, just wanted to push back, feeding it, trimming it, just trying to get it to really compact because it's starting to get a bit sparse. And growing out this way, I wanted to get nice inner buds. So that's it for the Trident. So I'm going to post up a couple of them Japanese maples now, and I'll show you what they look like. Now, you would have seen this guy. I've repotted this tree this year. You would have seen that being repotted. I love this tree. It's really starting to form a real natural looking shape. So when I'm in the garden, I've got these along the fence line, so I need to rotate these trees. I do it every 2 to 4 weeks, depends when I remember really. So I actually had it rotated towards the back, so some of these branches, now this is the front where I've rotated it, so it's starting to, it was a weird look. This is at the back, the branches kind of go upwards a little bit, which is good, so it pushes these branches upwards a little bit more natural. So that's been interesting. I like this little trunk on this side. It was quite nice and beautiful, but the colour of the leaves is really pretty. Even though I'm feeding this tree doesn't go like that really heavy green colour, if you know what I'm saying. It's got this nice light maple colour. It looks quite beautiful. You see the nice shoots still after I've pinched this tree. So really, once I pinch this tree, which I've done the video on, it's about a matter of enjoying it. It doesn't really go gangbusters putting out massive new growth. If it does, then it's because I've been feeding heavily. There are a few areas that I tweak here and there, but that's about it. I'll just let this grow naturally, and it looks quite spectacular over spring, and I hopefully get some good colour. So I can continue to feed at the moment, just like all my other trees, continually feed it. As I said, if it pushes out the growth, pushes out long shoots, I'll cut them back. But at the moment, it just sits there and looks quite beautiful. And and special, and it really does look nice at the moment. So I hope you guys enjoy this one. And the last tree I want to show you is another Japanese maple, and you would have seen this again repotted this year. I haven't got the right pot for it yet, I just had to use what I had. Unfortunately, I didn't have much else I can do. This tree is starting to really take shape. I'm starting to get it's just a unique tree with that big huge branch out there just pushing over. Like, it's just, I think it's something very different, very unique, and I really love that extra branch on that side there. What I'm trying to do is also encourage a lot of the growth in here. That it's got fine growth but it hasn't shot up yet this time of year, which is unusual. So I'm feeding, I'm giving this area lots of sun, trying to encourage those buds to pop. I'm trying to keep the canopy trimmed a little bit, trying to trim it back here and there. Once I think in a certain area is growing out of whack and not the right shape, I'll give it a little trim. The good news is I'm getting a lot of inner buds that are back budding as I'm giving it lots of sun at this time of year, which it can handle. Feeding really well, so I'm getting those inner buds, which is great. But I need to encourage this area here. Now, this area here it's starting to shoot a little bit. It's got nice healthy buds. They haven't popped, and I think it's because a lot of this area is taking, a lot of that foliage is taking the energy. So I'll probably have to defoliate some of that area to try and encourage this back budding in here to really spring up, because I really want a nice big, once this really fills in here, it will look like a huge canopy tree in a maple that leans over a lake of some sort. So you can imagine a lake down here somewhere, and it's just hanging on the on the edge of the bank, and there's a little lake, quite a big lake out there, and this tree hangs over it. That's what I imagine this tree to be and how it's positioned. So hope you enjoyed the little tour of my maples and how they're going along. There's a real passion for them, and you can see why I really enjoy them. So hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you guys around. Take care.